Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to this special live from ADCC 2022 special live episode of the Grappling Rewind podcast. Today's episode live from Vegas. We are going to recap.
You said it like 5 times.
I did say it like 5 times. We'll get into it in a second here. We are going to recap the day one of ADCC 22. I think probably the ADCC in recent history, and maybe ever, with the most upsets ever in a tournament. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host,
Miranda.
Hey, Miranda.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. We are running on I'm running on 2.5 hours of sleep. I think you're running on about the same amount, about 3 hours of sleep. We finished last night's episode, the bracket show, at I think about 3:30 in the morning. I finished editing at 4:30 in the morning. We then watched an entire day of grappling. We watched all of ADCC day one. We have not had a chance to review anything. We were, I think, the entire day 5 rows back.
Yeah, we were 5 rows back.
We were the front row of the black section, which were amazing seats. The entire arena has amazing seats. We had a great time. It was some wild shit. We are gonna talk about it. So let's kick it off. It's been already a very long day, but I love doing these shows here. If you like the show, please share with a friend or a folk at the gym, and follow us at the Grappling Rewind on Instagram. We post cool stuff, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more interview content this weekend. And generally, that is the best way that you can support the show. We really appreciate it. Also have some shirts out. If you really want one of those, shoot me a DM. I can get you one of those. Let's start with plus 99 kilogram division, the division that had 5 former champions in it. That number has gotten a little smaller immediately. So first round, one of the first matches of the day, we had Gordon Ryan coming out and submitting, give me the name here. I can never pronounce. I always mess up his name.
I don't know.
Hanky Jusilla.
Yeah, that works.
I think that let's pull the results on that. I think it was rear naked choke.
It was a rear naked choke.
In about 5.5, it was a little longer than kind of, I think a lot of people expected. Gets through him. It was sort of
5:49.
Yeah, in very much Gordon fashion. Pathway to the back, get the back. Jusilla held on for a while and really forced Gordon to hand fight in ways that we didn't expect. We were like, "Ooh, this is going to be
also a big
an interesting
dude.
match."
He's a very large man. You don't realize that until they're beside each other.
It was like, he is bigger than Gordon by a little bit, and that's what happens. You got plus 99. So Gordon moves through. I think really a surprise to no one. Your number 1 seed going against your number 16 seed. That's what we expected. Next match, we had Victor Hugo going against Big Dan Manasuri. Him and Gordon, teammates on the same side of the bracket. Victor Hugo moves through him. Only 3-point score.
Yeah.
Very, very close match. Again, there are, I think, probably 100+ matches to go through.
Yeah.
We are not going to go and recap every single one. If you want to, go back and watch the matches. I recommend you go back and watch
and we'll tell you
pretty much all the matches.
We'll tell you which matches are a little bit more exciting or have something going on.
Speaking of exciting matches, so Victor Hugo moves on. Speaking of exciting matches, fucking Haisem Rita submits Cyborg Abreu.
Are we going in order?
I'm going in bracket order
here.
You're
going in bracket order, okay.
Yeah, Brandon and I have different sources up for data. Again, this is what you get. This is what you get with a live show or with an in-location show.
Yeah, we're trying to do what we can.
I think we just got back. We literally drove directly from the completion of ADCC. It was running about 2.5 hours longer than I said it was going to be, but we're immediately jumping into the show.
Event. That's how this shit works.
We're on a Brazilian time.
We're always late.
Haisem Rita submitted Cyborg Abreu in 1 minute and 15 seconds with an armbar. It was I'm going to say the wildest moment of the day. That arena fucking popped.
I do have to say
off
that,
when he got that. I have also, in all of the grappling I have ever watched, never watched a dude rip at a grip for an armbar like I watched Haisem Rita. That dude, everything, double hand over grip on Cyborg's arm, just pulling the grip out. He also took both of his legs and he flexed out on the shoulder. Thanks, Miranda. He flexed out on the shoulder in order to break the grip off. It was wild. And again, finished Cyborg, a former champion, in 1 minute and 15 seconds. throwing a huge wrench into all of our brackets. That'll be a consistent theme here.
Quite a few wrenches in our brackets.
Yep. Next match, we had Felipe Pena scoring 8 points over Josh Saunders. That match was actually a little closer than I thought initially. Saunders came out.
You jumped one. Hosha and Souza.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah. 2.5 hours of sleep, guys. João Gabriel Hosha, who did show up today,
yes,
took a submission victory over Roosevelt Souza in a little over 6 minutes there.
It's a knee bar.
Yep, it was a fun knee bar. Next match we had Orlando Sanchez, Max Jimenez. This was a weird match. Orlando came out
in Orlando fashion
and like stalled and kind of like just continually talked to the ref and like pushed him out.
Like a cartoon figure.
Yeah.
Like not a real person.
He is a caricature for sure. Max Jimenez eventually is able to take 2 points and then submit him late into the match. It was a weird match. We are all kind of wondering, I'm not sure if Orlando, with this performance and his 2017 performance, will be invited back with this. It was weird. Probably not one you want to watch. He didn't seem like he wanted to compete.
And it was like he kept on creating situations that would break up what was going on.
Yeah.
And I know that sometimes it's somebody's way of handling a situation, or that's how they kind of deal with it.
But it was definitely not a pace that was the same thing. Oh, can you grab that? That'd be awesome. Yeah. Sweet. Next match, we had Nick Rodriguez defeating Damon Ramos on score, 8 points. This one started initially Ramos came out aggressive, and then Nick eventually slowed the pace down and brought it and got to Ramos' back and really slowed him down and started scoring. Next match, we had John Hansen getting a kind of a weird injury submission over Vinny Magalhães. I think
it was like a knee or an ankle or a foot
I think it was I'm not sure if it was a knee or a hip or something, but in a passing sequence.
On the left side of his body, that's all I know.
In a passing sequence, Vinny hurt something. John was looking really good in the match, and then Vinny hurt something, and then there's a submission via injury, essentially, and John moves on to the second round. In the second round, we had a matchup that I was really excited to see. We had Victor Hugo versus Gordon Ryan, and Victor Hugo, we've talked about his guard for a long time and how dynamic it is. He's a big guy that can play off his back, has great leg lock entries, and is very happy to do that. Gordon Ryan's passing is amazing here. He gets around Victor Hugo's guard in a way that I have never seen anyone get around his guard before. He steps around, he would put his chest down, he passed him a couple of times, he got to top position. At the end, they sort of tried to trade funny footlocks, but neither really committed. This is a match that I saw, I was Gordon is happy to, I'm not going to say play it safe, but definitely is not going out there and fervorously looking to submit everyone. He is happy to go win within the rule set and take out a dangerous dude in Victor Hugo comfortably on a points victory. And so I think that's pretty significantly different from what he looked like in 2019, where he was my goal is to go and submit everyone. I think this time he would like to do that, but he's not going to take unnecessary risks, especially with facing Andre Galvao in the super fight. Later in the day, he doesn't want to get beat or have an issue and get out of that. So Gordon moves on. Now in the finals match, next round we have Haisam Rita and Roosevelt Souza, and Roosevelt Souza takes that over Haisam Rita on score, and then kind of Haisam's crazy run. We have Felipe Pena and Max Jimenez. Definitely a more slow-paced match.
Yeah.
Pena takes it kind of after a weird sequence.
It's towards the end.
9:45, 9:49. By a submission, Max was down a penalty point, and he sort of got more aggressive and overextended a little bit, and eventually Pena was able to get to his back and hit him with a rear naked choke in order to submit him. Definitely a slower-paced match. Max was very, very content to not let Pena get underneath him, and eventually that caused the negative, and Pena was able to force the action there with incentive for Max and get the submission. We also had Nick Rodriguez and John Hansen. Nick Rodriguez showing off more of that body lock passing, eventually getting Hansen to turtle, working to Hansen's back, throwing hooks in, and getting a rear naked choke. the way that Nicky Rod passed to the back, this was a rematch from West Coast Trials where Nick Rodriguez was also able to get to Hansen's back again and choke him. But that was to do a cartwheel pass. This is the same story, but just a different method. Took 8 minutes here, or 7:54 to do that. So in the semifinals now, we have Gordon Ryan and Roosevelt Souza, which will be a really interesting match. Roosevelt Souza is a big dude, has some pretty good wrestling. I'm curious to see how Gordon will force him into. I think Gordon will probably pull here to deal with Roosevelt and try to sweep him. And we have Felipe Pena versus Nick Rodriguez.
That's an interesting.
That's a really interesting match. It's like, can Nick Rodriguez pass through Felipe Pena's guard, from that body lock pass like he did prior and in other earlier matches? I don't know. That for me is a toss-up.
Yeah.
Neither outcome would surprise me. And in the finals, we're going to have Gordon Ryan.
Come on. You want a Nicky Rod and Gordon Ryan.
I honestly, I'm super happy with either one
main
of
event, but
finals.
You know what I mean.
I'm super happy with either one of those finals. Like,
I would rather have Nicky Rod push through, but
I think that's a fun match.
Just because we've seen recently seen Pena and Gordon Ryan.
I would like to see the rematch in ADCC because that does kind of answer some questions like what does Pena look like in ADCC? The rematch where he had 6 points on Gordon
really,
with 2
in all
back
honesty,
takes.
I would like to see Roosevelt Souza. But,
that we know,
But
we know that's what you're pulling for, and with all the upsets, like
you never know what's going to freaking happen.
No, so we're gonna get that final. Very, very excited for that final. It's gonna, those are two phenomenal matches that we've talked about ever since the New Wave or since DDS split into New Wave and B Team. Like that was a potential matchup, especially with Gordon going to 9-9. So that does it for the plus 99 kilogram recap. Crazy upsets in that one. It only gets wilder from here.
It gets crazier as we go.
Moving on to under 99 kilograms, we had Kyan Duarte taking a pretty dominant victory over Owen Livesley. Owen Livesley late replacement.
I do have to say, at least it did go 10 minutes.
Yeah, full time.
And it wasn't most of the points came at the end of the match.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stand up in the beginning.
Saw that Duarte really came out. And all Duarte's matches,
out aggressive.
He comes out super aggressive for the first 30 seconds.
And I mean, a lot of them are, but he came out super aggressive in most of his matches
today. Duarte comes out more aggressive, than anyone else. Like he immediately starts batting on your head. And you could tell he really leaned on Owen for long stretches of this match to tire him out and slow him down. Owen almost hits a beautiful fireman's on him.
I saw that. I was like, then it didn't happen.
But again, kind of Duarte is able to show that veteran kind of skill in the rule set, score 8 points, and move on to the next bracket.
It wasn't a bad match.
It was definitely interesting because, with the speed that Livesley has early, he was able to get into Duarte for 1 point. There was a couple times. And Duarte had to shuck it away. Next match, we had Patrick Gaudio defeating Elder Cruz. I think this was a ref.
Other way around. Elder Cruz.
Oh, right, defeating Patrick Gaudio. This was a pushing match back and forth, very close ref decision. There was some bottom top action, but most of the match was standing and a lot of pushing. No points scored. Next match, Rafael Lovato Jr. defeating Teponen by submission late. Actually, the submission came in the overtime.
Yeah.
Almost 12 minutes in. I forget.
Rear naked choke. At 1:49.
Yeah, and then I was the whole crowd was like, "Fuck, Lovato still got it."
Yeah,
because that was the big question of like, what does Lovato look like? The last time we saw him was in the Mergali match at Who's Number One. We kind of we weren't sure where he was at.
Yeah,
and he showed us like, "Yep, dude can still get it done, still submit."
Yeah, he definitely looked good today.
Yeah, he looks like Lovato. Next match we had Vinicius Tatro Ferreira taking a score. It's listed in 0-0 for me. For the flow brackets over Paul Ardilla. Do you have anything? Do you have a different result there for him?
It just says score, which doesn't really make sense. But let me look.
Okay. Sometimes that's
penalties.
Yeah. Sometimes when it says score, it's just penalty.
Yeah, it was 0-2 on penalties for Ardilla.
So Ferreira moves on with that one. We had Craig Jones versus Jacques Costa. Craig Jones finished in 18 seconds, like that's modified.
That's the fastest, and that's the fastest sub of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was
easy.
Craig runs out, he pulls guard, he basically scoots, and then he just grabs the arm and finishes. And it's
like a straight arm lock.
It was a violin straight arm lock from the side, and it was 18 seconds long.
Yeah, it was.
We've already recapped more. We've already spent more time talking about the match than the match was. That answered the question. I was like, Craig Jones is happy to pull and is immediately looking for subs. we might get 2017 Craig Jones all over again, where it's like he's firing for subs quick, and that's what he's looking for. And that filled me with a lot of hope for the weekend. Next match, we also had Devontae Johnson and Kyle Bain. Really close referee's decision. I think it was a penalty because it's listed as 10 minutes in referee's decision. Do you have something else there?
Judge's decision.
Yeah, judge's decision, probably after 15 minutes. Slower match where no points were scored.
Yeah.
After that, we had Yuri Simoes and Luke Griffith. This was a fun match. Yuri, we were really hesitant on what Yuri was going to look like, especially with the fight to win match recently.
Yeah.
What we've seen from him recently, we're like, ooh, maybe Yuri's like lost a step. Like, where is he at? He looked good versus Luke Griffith, especially late. Like, Luke Griffith early in this match, I was like, oh, Luke Griffith is going to run away with this. And then you saw Yuri essentially say, like, get his feet under him and then start to, like, build momentum.
Yeah.
He started shooting his takedowns and, like, starting to get Luke down and, like, forcing the scrambles. And by the end, it was like, I think that was Yuri, just because he was the one initiating that, such an important piece in the ADCC rule set. He gets it done by referee's decision after the overtime, after 15 minutes. Then we had Nicholas Margali versus Enrique Sassone. Margali gets, I think, a rear naked choke.
Yeah, it started. I mean, it started with I expected it to go not the way of.
Yeah, Sassone came out and I was like, ooh,
Margali's. And it was like bad.
He immediately dumps Margali.
Yeah.
Like he lifts Margali.
Oh, he suplexed Margali on his neck.
Yes. On his like side neck, and I went
his face. And I was like, holy shit.
Welcome to ADCC, Margali.
He gets him Kimura at 4.
Oh, yeah, this was the Kimura, yeah.
Yeah.
Where Margali.
He gets him at Kimura at 4:35. This is the one where
he just steps over and goes, oh shit, a Kimura.
Yeah, it's just the way like Sassone was like, I guess, rolling or turtling, that his arm came up. And you saw this look on Margali's face like, oh, there's an arm. I can Kimura it. And he just, like, grabs it and goes.
He just locks it and he goes, oh, Kimura. And just, like, pulls it aside.
You can tell it wasn't, like, a planned thing.
And all of us went...
It was literally, like, it was just there.
So we taken... Well, part of ADCC, part of the fun that we have with the group is we take dollar bets. So it's like a dollar bet, hey, a dollar bet that he beats him, or hey, that this guy throws 3 guillotines in this match, or like those sort of things. Earlier, I think like 2 matches before, we were all talking about like what submission are you going to see and what submission aren't you going to see, and we were kind of talking about that, and we went, yeah, no one had Kimura on that one.
Oh, okay.
So that's...
We had a lot of things going on.
We had a lot of things going on today.
We didn't think were actually going to happen.
Next match, we had Yuri Simoes versus Nicholas Margali. 15 minutes, ref's decision. Close match, but Margali does take it. This was on the other side of the mat, so I actually wasn't able to see a ton. We watched 100-plus matches today. I don't remember every single one perfectly. This is one that doesn't particularly stand out. It was a non-scoring ref decision after 15 minutes that Margali moves through on.
Yeah.
Craig Jones versus Kyle Bain. Craig Jones jumps the guillotine late into the match after I think Bain had scored on him.
Yeah.
Bain had taken him down, and then it was like, ooh, Craig Jones has to come from behind. And Craig Jones goes... Oh, I gotta win. Jumps an arm-in guillotine on Kyle Bain and just cranks. And I went, that looks very, very tight. Gets it done. Craig Jones, 2 for 2 subs on the day. Looks to be the guy that he was in 2017.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, and he looked great in 2019. He made it to the finals. Ran up against Deniz in the finals, but the pathway that he had with the submissions in 2017 is what sticks out in everyone's mind for like that vintage Craig Jones. That was here in this match. Like, he's going to throw caution to the wind. When he thinks he has a sub, he's going to go hard on it.
He's also probably smaller than most of these guys.
Yeah.
Because he went up a weight class.
And Bain came down to 99.
He's definitely not cutting to make this weight class.
Yeah.
Like, he's sitting comfortable here.
Next match, we had Rafael Lovato Jr. versus Vinicius Ferreira. Lovato takes that in regulation on 2 points.
Yeah.
I think it was a takedown, if I recall correctly.
I think it was a takedown.
Yeah. And then we have Kainan Duarte versus Elder Cruz. 5-2 in favor of Kainan Duarte. This was fun. This was a back and forth match, but Duarte eventually, I think later in the match, I think most of the points that we saw today were scored late in the match.
Yeah.
We saw a couple times that guys scored points like in the last 2 or 3 seconds, you would see hooks come into the back and points would be scored before overtime or before something at the end.
Which, kind of makes sense because that way they don't have an ability to actually come back. But it's very hard to time that shit. Sometimes it was just there.
And it was wild. But this was, again, one of the few matches that had points for both person. I thought it was interesting. I was like, oh, yeah, because most matches, it's 1 score or 2 scores for a single person and no return to points. This actually had points scoring for Cruz and for Duarte that I thought kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So, semifinals, we have Kainan Duarte versus Rafael Lovato Jr. I love Lovato. Kainan looks in rare form.
Kainan has been snapping people to the mat in a way that looks painful, and I don't even know. I watched him. I'd watch him snap everybody today.
Yeah,
and it was like not.
He looks powerful.
It wasn't even like a timing thing. I mean, it is a timing thing, but it's also just a power thing.
Yeah,
and he's aggressive. He comes out aggressive as fuck. So,
he's really
it's definitely.
It is to be a tough one for Lovato. I'm gonna pick Duarte here because again, you're one of your few medalists that are still in the division. Like you have Duarte, and then the next match you have Nicholas Mergali and Craig Jones. Craig Jones is a silver medalist from last year. So Josh and I, when we previewed this a couple of weeks ago on the show, Josh thinks that Mergali is going to be able to pressure on top of Lovato. On top of Craig Jones, like he did to Lovato. I think this Craig Jones, and I said it 2 weeks ago on the show when we previewed it, Craig Jones be snapping heel hooks. I think he knows that Mergali is historic. This is his 6th Nogi match or 5th Nogi match ever. He doesn't have the years of experience with the heel hooks. If Craig Jones has one pathway to like sustained victory, it is I'm going to grab and try to go for your legs.
He also definitely needs to not go for one specific leg entanglement. Only because he's being coached by Danaher,
mm-hmm. and they know Craig Jones' game so well.
And they know you know how to defend certain leg exchanges. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely going to be something where Craig is going to have to at least.
I think it'll be an inversion underneath, and he'll get Mergali moving, and he'll get it almost in a scramble.
It's going to be like you're going to have to switch sides, roll, move the foot, and just keep on kind of. Chaining things together and having a whole chain of submissions, and maybe like go after the legs a bunch and then jump on the head. I don't know, but you're gonna need to do chains of submissions. I think to hit Mergali, only because he does have all that awareness of what's going on.
I think your best option is to submit Mergali. And I don't think
you're gonna have to like You're gonna have to like throw every single submission known to man at him.
I think then to get him moving, and then to get him stepping up and close to you in order to get to his leg. I think Mergali looks good. Craig Jones looks good. I just think that Craig Jones takes that. I do think we get Craig Jones, kind of Duarte in the finals. Yeah. I actually think this is a great matchup for Craig Jones. It's a rematch. Duarte previously at Kasai basically baramboled him and choked him. Yeah. I think that Craig Jones will know, like, Duarte has a historic weakness to the legs. He lost to Kim Spriggs via heel hook. He has another recent heel hook loss as well. I think that's where Craig Jones goes. Yeah. I kind of think that Craig Jones puts the pieces together and makes the changes he needs to in order to submit Kainan in the finals. Finals are long, 20 minutes. You have a long time to work with a guy like Craig Jones. Duarte can stay away like he did, like Deniz did in 2019. But I just think with the fervorous nature that Craig Jones is hunting submissions, I think he's looking to leave. Even in an interview, he said he's looking to leave it all on the table and not like have this be the last run and go all out if he can. I think he goes. I think he submits Mergali. He submits Kainan in the finals. I think Mergali again beats Rafael Lovato Jr. We just saw that match a couple of weeks ago. I think it looks really similar to the match we saw. So I think it's Craig Jones first, Duarte second, Mergali third, Lovato fourth.
Okay.
What do you think?
I agree with you on all around.
Awesome. Moving into the men's under 88 kilogram division.
This is one of the ones that goes wild.
This is one that's just like, well, all your medalists are gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, not at first. Some of them take a little bit of time, but...
First round, we have Mateus Deniz versus Roberto de Frias. 10-minute match, full length of time. 3 points for Deniz to get him moving on. a much closer match, I think, than most people anticipated, with Deniz being your 1 seed and De Frias being your...
Deniz definitely looked little today. And
Yeah.
I can't explain it. Like, and I think part of it is also his hair, as weird as that sounds. Like, I'm not used to him having, like, the frilly hair. But looking at him, and, like, I've been in the same room as him at Marcelo's, and I've seen him on TV, but I've been in the same room with him at Marcelo's. He looked small.
Yes.
And
There were a
and it was
lot
like,
of guys I noticed
it was like,
looked way smaller.
It was like face almost sunken in and small.
I
And
noticed
that wasn't
his
what I...
chest and shoulders looked smaller, too.
Yeah, he didn't look right. And I don't know what that's about. I don't know if that's hitting under 88. I don't know if there's more to that or not, or if maybe it's just me. But he just
I
didn't
understood, too.
seem... He didn't seem...
He didn't seem as large as he did in 2019.
And he didn't seem as confident as I would have expected him to be.
Yeah, I know.
That
I
was
noticed the
my
size.
opinion. Yeah.
So De Frias gives him a tougher match. Mateus is able to score. Next, we have Giancarlo Bodoni taking on Izaki Bahens. 6 points. This was a tight match. This was a close match.
Yeah.
But Bodoni's able to take it, I think, again later in the match with some positional work.
I mean, in all honesty, they're all later because you don't get points till later.
It's been a very long couple of days.
You know what I mean?
You are
like,
correct.
You don't get points to the second half of the match to begin with.
So I just realized that now. I was like, why did everyone score so late? Yeah, because, man, there are no points the first 5 minutes of the match.
To stay on that same kind of path, there was a lot of matches where there was only 2 or 3 points scored, and it was towards the end.
Yeah.
Or towards the last, like, let's say, minute and a half.
That first 2 or 3 minutes,
like,
not scoring.
Yeah, with some crazy shit that happened.
Yeah.
And we'll keep on talking about it.
Sanji Ribeiro versus Owen O'Flanagan. Owen beats Sanji Ribeiro, and then Sanji Ribeiro retires on the mat. What seemed to be a retirement on the mat. He retired earlier this year from the gi. He retired ADCC no gi. He gets a standing ovation from the crowd, and everyone's like, goddamn, I got to see Sanji's last match.
Yeah.
That's cool. It seemed to be, again, everyone loves Sanji.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see that. Owen O'Flanagan looked good.
Good, and he continued to look good.
He continued to look good. We'll talk about him in a second.
That in a second.
Mason Fowler gets a submission victory at 6:37 over Jesus.
I'm looking for him.
Yeah. Alexandre
De Jesus, a guillotine.
Guillotine choke, arm in, later in the match, right after the point started. It was, again, what we thought from Fowler, that super tight guillotine.
We sort of had a day of guillotines, too.
Dude, it was an arm in guillotine kind of day.
Yeah, it was. There was a bunch of them.
I think 1 of 4 or 5 today was this particular one that we saw. And next match we had Hulk versus Santeri Lilius. Hulk gets a score, 3 points.
Takes
to
his back
take the match
towards the end of the match and kind of has his back for a bit.
Yeah, pretty sustained back control for a while, working for the choke, but never actually ended up getting the choke.
Yeah.
Next month we had a fucking wild match.
A wild match that I don't think any of us really expected this result. Don't get me wrong, I wanted this result, but I didn't think it would actually happen.
Yeah, we had teammates, Alto's teammates, Josh Hinger.
Not just teammates. We're talking Josh Hinger used to coach Ty Ruotolo as a child.
Yep.
Like, he was one of the child students of Josh Hinger.
Josh Hinger versus Ty Ruotolo. Josh Hinger shows that sometimes the teachers still got it.
Yeah.
Whatever fancy catchphrase you want to use there. Outscores him 3-2. He, I think he got his back.
Yeah, he did.
And that was the score.
He did.
Ty is able to get him, I think, either a sweep or a takedown. But 15-minute match, so all 3 of your points, both your point scoring pieces happened in the overtime.
Yeah.
This was a match that you saw, or at the end of the match, Ty comes back and is trying to choke Hinger with, I think, a darce. And you see Cade on the edge of the mat yelling at him to, squeeze harder on this choke. Unable to do it. For me, that's a big upset. Hinger's a former medalist from 2019. I just thought we've been really high on Ty Ruotolo. He's been looking phenomenal, and no one's really showed us, like, what you need to do to beat him recently, except for Michael Gabao. And Josh Hinger showed that, like, yep, you stay diligent on the wrestling.
Yeah, it was just a grindy match.
And you grind it out with him, and then he knew sort of where Ty wanted to transition and could stay out of those really dangerous areas, stay away from his darce, stay away from the buggy choke, stay, like, out of everything, is able to beat him on points. And it was, a shocking result to, I think, a lot of us. But, Josh Hinger showing that he's got it.
It messed up a lot of brackets.
Dude, messed up our brackets.
Yeah.
Next one, we had Wagner Rocha taking a pretty controversial ref's decision over Isaac Michel.
Yeah.
I think this match in particular, you can absolutely do it either way.
Yeah, you can.
Again, we were watching 3 different matches at the same time. This match, there's a lot of initiation on both parties. There's a lot of takedowns. There's a lot of scrambles. There's a lot of who's pushing forward, who's working. It's no score. You go to ref's decision.
Yeah.
They give it to Wagner. I don't think it's the wrong decision. I think definitely people in the arena really love Isaac Michel, and we're unhappy about that. But that's what happens. That's what happens. You go to decision. We don't do enough to score any points. Sometimes people aren't happy about the decision.
But all of Wagner's matches for the day,
both of them
were definitely fun to watch. Both matches,
and we're both close decisions. We'll get to that here in a second. Pedro Marinho versus Jay Rodriguez. This was fun, honestly. I enjoyed this one. This was a battle of the guillotines. Rodriguez showing that he was super game. Pedro outscores him 3-2 after the first scoring period after 10 minutes and moves on. I think a lot of people were really expecting Jay Rodriguez to be kind of blown out of the water here, especially with that recent performance against Couch. That was not the case here. Dude was in it with Pedro Marinho and showed that, that wrestling can really change the dynamic of a fight if you have a guy that wants to wrestle with you. Jay Rodriguez showing that he still is a very competent wrestler versus a headhunter like Mourinho, and didn't get guillotined. No. So that was awesome. Next match, we had Wagner Rocha taking again super close decision over Pedro Marinho after 15 minutes.
This is a wild match to watch.
This is a wild match. This was
they went off the mat. They went off the mats. I don't know how many times.
I think 3 or 4 different times.
Wagner smacked his head at one point.
Into the concrete. They went into the tables, and it wasn't those matches where the guys were trying to play it up into the opposite.
Well, they were also like. It was like an MMA fight. They were definitely beating the shit out of each other.
They were heavy collar ties, as heavy as the ref would allow.
And you could hear it. You could hear the collar ties.
We were on the other corner of the ring, so we were in front of mat 1. This was happening on mat 3, and you could hear Wagner hitting Pedro in the jaw and in the chin and on the neck.
What was really funny was Pedro was the one that kept on getting called by the ref.
Pedro would bounce his hand a little. Pedro would do it at Wagner, distance and swing, and Wagner would come in straight.
Yeah, he would almost smack the shit out of Wagner.
Yeah.
And Wagner would just kind of smile back at him, but the ref would call it. But you could hear Wagner just chopping down.
Because Wagner, the way I was trying to figure out why he was getting called.
He was chopping and Pedro was slapping.
Swinging. Yep, and it looks different.
He was doing this as opposed to this.
Yeah, and I realized that during the match, I was because you can see it immediately. Okay, it's that's maybe she called. And I was watching Wagner. I was Wagner's doing that equally as hard.
It's ADCC.
Why in my mind do I not want to call from that? Oh, it's because he's coming more straight with it.
Yeah,
and it looks very different.
Well, because it's a collar tie as opposed to
a collar smack or a club or something.
A club.
So Wagner takes that again for the disappointment of some people, but very close decision. They were off on the mat. Allegedly, off the mat at one point in the guillotine, Wagner tapped. That being said, when I saw it, it looked like the ref had already said stop.
Yeah.
And then the guillotine's still there, and then Wagner taps after the ref had said stop. That's what I saw. But there's a bunch of people online that are like, "He tapped." I was like, when I was Matt's side, or not Matt's side, but pretty fucking close to Matt's side, that's what I saw. The ref went stop, and then they're still in it.
And then he's still
and then you hear the crowd screaming, and then you see Wagner go "Oh yeah, well we're done." So he said stop, let me go.
To let go of me. Yeah.
And so that, again, more controversy at ADCC. I love it. Next match we had Lucas Hulk Barbosa outscoring Josh Hinger 7-0.
They're 2 training partners.
And they beat the shit out of each other.
It was wild because you always wonder exactly how hard 2 training partners are going to go with each other. They freaking were beating, and there was a little bit of talk back and forth because you could see them talk to each other once in a while, or certain little facial expressions where they looked at each other like
they knew each other's game, knew
that's not gonna fucking work. What's wrong with you? Kind of.
I love this match because the ref stayed out of this match completely because again, Josh and Hope kept it really clean, but it was definitely there were extremely hard collar ties.
To my knowledge, Hinger was at Atos when Hulk showed up. Because I think the story goes that Hinger was sent to pick up Hulk at the airport when he showed up from Brazil.
Oh, that's funny.
And he was like, and when he saw Hulk, he was like, what the fuck? Like,
who's this kid?
Who is this guy? And I'm letting him in my car, and I don't know who the fuck this is, and he's gonna live with me now. Because Hager had the house, the Atos house, and they all stayed there and lived there. And he was like dispatched to go pick up this random guy. And
that's so funny.
So I think, Hager started before he did.
We were talking. I was like,
he was sort of scouted by
we were
Atos.
like, have these guys ever faced each other before? And then Zach turns to me and goes, yeah, probably 3 or 4 times a day, every day of the week for the last couple of years.
Except for the last year because Hulk moved to Eugene, Oregon recently.
Yeah. But it was just funny.
Years of them going against each other.
You could tell those guys were very happy to go at that speed and that intensity where other people, I think you have another guy that's not Hulk or Hinger in that matchup. They kind of complain, but both those guys were like, this is how we do it. This is how we get
We're
down.
Gonna beat the shit out of
and
each
the ref
other.
was like, you guys know each other.
Yeah.
Until somebody gives me a look like, ref, are you going to step in? Neither guy did that. And it was like, again, watching a teammate fight is always a really weird thing in our sport. But I do appreciate the Atos guys. Like, when it comes time to fight your teammates, they fucking go. And, like, that's a rarity in the sport. And I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, because most of the time they try to do, like, stupid...
not a fixed fight, but, like, they'll hold back or they'll go easy. And, like,
or they'll give the win to a teammate or something.
And so
or they do closeouts.
Prop where props is due. Both those guys showed up.
They don't do closeouts because I remember Hanger talking about going against Keenan when Keenan was still Atos.
Yeah.
They used to go against each other, so they at least they know how to work it.
So next match we had a huge upset win. Owen O'Flanagan heel hooking Mason Fowler.
Now O'Flanagan is the 12th seed and Fowler is the 13th seed.
Oh, so these seedings are wrong.
Oh, their seedings are wrong?
Yeah.
Well, then
I think...
Then it doesn't matter.
I think...
I know if Flanagan was not a top
because they have
seed.
Jay Rodriguez as the 2nd seed here. So it's just how the brackets are done.
Okay.
But no, Flanagan, historically the trials winners from UK and Europe, or not UK, like European trials winners, don't historically do very well. A lot of them don't get out of the first round. And so as a result, most of them match up with the 16th as the first seed and the 16th seed.
He had Sanji, which was close to the top.
Yeah, top seed. And then Owen takes out Mason Fowler, who I think most people had as 4th seed, which is just wild, and finishes him with a sub.
Yeah.
And Fowler looked pissed. Again, everyone who gets subbed this weekend looks pissed, but it looked like Fowler was trying to counter heel hook him. And then Owen went, nah, man, I got this too.
It was a heel hook.
And then he just rips it. And I went, oh, that's super tight. You see Fowler, like, upsettedly have to tap. It was a wild moment. Like, I did not picture Fowler getting taken out first day.
No, not at all.
In a wild string of events.
Yeah.
So that was, go back and watch that finish. That's a really cool, like,
and then we have a second upset of the day.
This was weird because this was a non-scoring match, very, very close, between Mateus Denise and Giancarlo Bodoni. And then there is a takedown attempt. The guys are kind of trading takedown attempts. And then there's a takedown attempt that ends with Bodoni with not a body lock, or I need to rewatch it, but doesn't appear to have a body lock. And then he is restarted in the center of the mat, and Mateus Denise is complaining like, hey, he didn't have his hands locked on this body lock.
Yeah.
And he's kind of protesting, and the ref says go, and Bodoni goes, well, he hasn't stopped me, and dumps him down, and does a clean takedown for 4 points.
Yeah.
And then you can tell, it was a question of like, okay, is Hulk just going to quit? Or not, sorry, is Mateus just going to quit here? Because he looked like, what the fuck? I was in the middle of like trying to get my position back. And Bodoni just continues to push up, gets to his back, submits him. This is a rear naked choke, I think?
Yeah, I believe so. Let me double check.
I think this is a rear naked choke.
Yeah,
a triangle
choke.
Yep, this was a triangle choke.
Isn't it a triangle choke from the back? Isn't it like a really...
This is a weird... I remember this being a weird choke.
It's definitely not... it's not a straight-on triangle. It's either from the back or from like a side. But
yeah, either inverted triangle or something. But it was some submission, and it was just wild because everyone went, you have a trials winner that just took out your champion after like Sanji's been taken out by Owen, Mason's been taken out. Like this bracket does not look like anyone. Like I don't think a single person aside from the guys in these guys' camps picked.
So the only person that pushed through to semifinals that I expected was Hulk.
Yeah, Hulk's there.
I kind of expected Hulk to win one, and then no matter if it was Hinger or Ruotolo, I think he could have took out either of those. So I expected Hulk to at least push through.
So in our quarters now, that's all for the quarterfinals. Sorry, in the semifinals now we have Giancarlo Bodoni versus Owen O'Flanagan. Bodoni, like, I think everyone now is like, Bodoni's going to take it.
I don't know, because you also have to think about O'Flanagan, who is now...
No one thought he was going to get this far.
And subbed Fowler in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go O'Flanagan, because fuck it.
I want to pull for him, too, because that's an amazing story for a European, like, coming into ADCC. Not coming into ADCC. Like, a European guy.
And I think that also forces Bordoni to play a top game.
Yeah. I think Owen's going to pull and go for the leg hard. I think Bodoni can deal with that, but we have seen, like, Nick Ronan submitted him, I think, a year or so ago via, I think, a knee bar. Like, Owen can do that.
Yeah.
And this makes it for a really interesting semifinal. Other side of the bracket, we have Lucas Hulk Barbosa versus Wagner Hosha.
It's just going to be collar
this
ties.
This is a collar tie city.
And just pushing each other and trying for takedowns. It's
I
just
have
going to be
no
an
idea.
Aggressive fucking match.
I think that if it gets to the mat, I think Hulk can deal with Wagner, but I don't know if Hulk can get Wagner down. And that's my question.
I don't know. So I would be more pushing towards Hulk 100% if I would have saw Hulk get like a clear double so
on
far.
Hanger or something.
So far.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in either match really pull like his normal straight, like balls to the wall straight from the middle.
Yeah.
Double. And I haven't really seen him. He's done well today, but I haven't seen him with the intensity for his takedowns that I've seen Wagner with. Because Wagner, both of his matches, he was like fucking a million miles per hour.
Absolutely.
Going forward, trying for takedowns the entire match. Mm-hmm. Like his
he's just active.
Yeah, and I think Hulk doesn't have that kind of, like, he's grindy, but he doesn't have that same kind of pressure.
He won't just keep. I don't know. In the
so I
beginning
mean,
of the Hanger match,
and that could benefit him because he could then use Rocha's pushing forward
as
for
a
like
counter.
a slide by or like for something that's timed.
So you picking Hulk or Wagner here?
So that's a rough match.
You've kind of convinced me for Wagner, I think.
I know, like I go back and forth because I think if Wagner starts pushing forward real heavy and Hulk realizes this and can capitalize on it, he could do like a lat drop, something that like uses Wagner's weight into him and kind of throws him by. But at the same time, I've seen Wagner able to deal with that,
so crafty.
And be okay with that.
Like we talked about it in the stands. Like Wagner is the craftiest dude in the tournament. Like that guy. Just...
Don't get me wrong. I think whoever wins that match wins the whole bracket.
Ooh.
I think whoever wins that side wins because if it's Bordoni, it doesn't really matter which one. If it's O'Flanagan, I don't think it matters which one. I think that side of the bracket wins.
I agree.
So,
fuck it. I'm picking Wagner. I'm picking Wagner to go all the way. Like,
I'll be
Rachel will be a big fan of that.
I'm gonna be difficult, and I'm gonna go Hulk just to be like the opposite of you.
One of us, and watch Owen take it. So, which he could do. Like,
so then we can just sit here and argue about it, and then
regardless at plus 88 or under 88, we now have a new champion.
Yeah, we do.
And that's some wild shit. So let's move on.
Especially if it's freaking Wagner Hosha, who's what
40.
40. Yeah, he's same 40. Age as me.
Which is fucking wild that dudes up there, best of the world. Getting it done in the semifinals of the biggest grappling event in the history of the sport. Moving on to under 77,
This is a wild.
I am fucking happy. I called this. JT Torres.
What?
I called that Kenta Iwamoto is a good fucking wrestler.
I was about to say, dude,
I didn't call that.
I don't know about that because I think both of us fucked up this whole bracket.
We fucked up this bracket completely. JT Torres defeats Kenta Iwamoto, 15 minutes, ref's decision, no point scored.
Kenta showed his wrestling.
Kenta was taking JT down in the no points, and he was putting it to JT, and he was forcing JT to counter. I do have to say
that JT didn't look turned on for this match.
Yeah.
He does for his second match. which is a completely different thing to talk about. But for this match, he didn't seem awake yet.
The speed wasn't there initially, and you should see Kenta like going, "Hey man, I'm gonna hit you with everything I have with the speed." And you saw like Torres put on the defensive early, and then late in the match, it seemed like Kenta was good for about 8-9 minutes.
Yeah, and then he started
to waver, and
declining.
JT started to kind of turn up his speed, turn up his pace, get into the groove, and then JT started to impose on him, and eventually that's what led to JT getting the decision, especially towards the end when he imposed more positional dominance on Kenta Iwamoto. But I think a lot of people are going to be way higher on Iwamoto now because of this match with JT Torres, because he took JT to a ref's decision and contended with him in the wrestling in the early stages of the match, which very few people could do.
He showed at trials that he could wrestle.
Yeah.
And he has been at B Team for quite a bit. I watched videos of him at B Team.
I'm just so happy that I looked at this matchup and was like, with all the mess ups of the bracket that we have and all the things we picked wrong,
there's so much
I looked at this matchup and went, that's going to be interesting. I think that will be closer than people think it was. And it is.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. But JT moves on. Next, we had Tommy Langacker versus PJ Barch. PJ Barch takes that in regulation, a 3-point score. Barch looks good.
Yeah.
We'll get into more from Barch here in a second.
Yeah.
Next match, we had Cade Rotolo submitting Lachlan Giles. Everyone was very sad. 7:58.
It was an armbar, correct?
Yeah, it was an armbar. So Cade was
like
basically
a jumping armbar.
Lachlan was playing like on his back directly.
Lachlan was playing a very playful game.
A very inverted game, looking for the leg. Really looking for the legs. You could tell that.
But he was very playful. He wasn't aggressive.
Yeah,
he was like completely upside down. Like
he was looking to counter Cade.
Yeah.
He was looking to stop the guard passing because Cade was looking to go to north-south the guard pass. And Lachlan was lifting up and putting his hands in the chest of Cade. And then normally with people at a regular speed, you can pull your hands away if they start to collect your arm.
Yeah.
And he starts to do that, but Cade jumps over to his body and jumps this armbar.
Yeah.
Pulls it over and is able to finish Lachlan with the armbar here. Cade looks good. It's it's unfortunate to see Lachlan again. 4 ADCCs in a row taken out in the first round. We're huge fans of Lachlan.
But it happens.
But Cade Rotolo avenges his brother's loss in the previous round, moving on for the first time for him in ADCC. Next match, we had Roberto Jimenez versus Andy Varela. To beat Roberto Jimenez, you got to go for his legs. Andy Varela knew the formula and did it. He got a heel hook in, I think.
No, Jimenez defeated Andy Varela.
Long match.
Via rear naked choke around 5 minutes.
Yeah, right before points happened. Jimenez gets to the back, gets double unders, and then there's one thing. If Jimenez gets to your back, there is a high chance he finishes you. I wonder what actually, statistics-wise, for guys that Jimenez has gotten to the back of, how often he finishes. Because usually when he gets someone's back, I remember him finishing. He very rarely gets shucked off the back or gets turned off the back. If he gets there, he finishes. That's what happened with Varela here, is he gets there and finishes.
He looked good today.
He did look
good. He definitely, it was the Roberto that we saw at trials, at Brazilian trials.
Definitely. Really playing that heavy double under game. Next match, we had Dante Leon versus Majid Haig. I think this was a wrist lock.
Yeah, it was some kind of arm lock, wrist lock, something.
Yeah.
Let's see what it says. It says triangle armbar.
I thought this was a wrist lock.
But
we really couldn't see from our angle what exactly happened. Dante submitted him with something in the arm.
He had some kind of belly down armbar sort of situation going on.
This was quick in the match. 2:43 in. Dante, again, your seeded guy, your fourth place finisher in 2019. Majid getting a late replacement slot in.
Yeah.
This is sort of what the bracketing you expected, but we're big fans of Majid. Actually, we're big fans of Dante too.
Yeah.
Gets subbed pretty quickly, and Dante moves on. Next match, we had the Polish Mateusz Sosinski defeating William Tackett by heel hook in just under 3 minutes, 2:57.
That was freaking wild.
That was unexpected as fuck. Because, again, a lot of guys, we haven't pulled a lot of tape on Mateusz since trials.
Yeah.
We were caught on him in trials for European trials because he looked really good. He got beat by Oliver Taza in the finals.
But it was because he pulled when he shouldn't have pulled.
He made a very small mistake there and pulled.
So it wasn't like a...
It was a tactical error, not a technical error.
Yeah.
And then to take out your U.S. trials champion for West Coast trials, William Tackett won the biggest trials ever.
That quick.
And then he gets beat in 2.5 minutes by your late replacement from Europe. Like,
Yeah.
that's a massive upset.
Yeah.
And Mateus showed that, like, yeah, he deserved to be there. And that's even off of yesterday of Andrew Tackett winning the absolute for the Open. Like, the Tackett brothers were high, were feeling good, and it was wild to see Sosinski be able to submit him so quickly in a very unexpected result for a late replacement. Next match, we had a full regulation, 10 minutes. Michael Galvão defeats Oliver Taza by 5 points. I forget, was it a takedown and then a mount, or was it a back take? Takedown and back take.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't remember exactly what happened in this match. I know that Galvão looked dominant. I think Taza went to his legs a little bit, but Galvão looked on top, and I don't think was ever forced to the bottom from Taza. Next match, we had Nikki.
But I think he played on the bottom for a bit.
Did he?
Yeah, I think he played on bottom for a bit. I don't remember the sequence that actually led to the score, but they did exchange back and forth, I believe.
Okay, I openly don't recall this one. A lot of matches today. We saw Renato Canuto defeat Nicky Ryan, 5 points score.
Yeah.
This was really a question for us, like, where is Nicky Ryan at? And Canuto had a rough match with Langacker a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was thinking that the style matchup would be similar to the PJ Barch matchup for Nicky Ryan. I think that was kind of correct.
Yeah.
Canuto doesn't wrestle up in the same way that Barch does, but he was able to score on Nicky Ryan.
Nicky Ryan's wrestling didn't look bad today at all.
No, it looked good.
Like, it looked good. It definitely was not a bad showing from Nicky Ryan, who we haven't seen for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that, towards the end, Canuto just picked up the pace on him.
I think that's what it was. It was a pace change that Nicky Ryan just couldn't kind of keep with. And then once he got scored on, he couldn't come back from that score deficit, and Canuto knew he could just keep him there. And that's, that was the match. In the quarterfinals, one of the two biggest, maybe 5 biggest upsets of the tournament.
What?
We had PJ Barch defeating JT Torres by score. He scores a clean takedown late in the match.
Dude,
with, I think, 2 or 3 minutes left.
I believe it was a double, wasn't it?
It was a double, and then
double.
he swings him, and he gets outside the leg, so it was a clean takedown. So ADCC, you get 2 points if you end up with a takedown that ends in the guard. You get 4 points for a takedown that ends up outside of the guard.
It was definitely pretty. And this was also the one where we saw Torres shoot, and then PJ block the reshot.
Yeah.
Because
this is a fun wrestling match.
Because JT would reshoot. He would shoot and then reshoot.
Yeah, reshot.
And so PJ would put his arm down and kind of block the reshot when it would come.
Scoop it.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. We did see JT Torres in the no-point section hit a takedown on PJ Barch. I think they both hit takedowns on the no-point section.
Yeah, in the no-point section, but they kept on getting back up. It wasn't like they could hold each other down at any point.
But it was crazy to see that takedown. You saw it was like 2.5 minutes left, and I went, I don't know.
Now PJ, has been wrestling for a very long time.
Oh, yeah. And he's good. To take JT Torres down. But it was wild in the real time to watch the match. JT Torres, your 2-time ADCC champion, back-to-back. Suddenly, he's down 4 points with 2 minutes left. And I went, I don't think in 8 minutes he hasn't been able to score. 7 minutes he hasn't been able to score on Barch. I don't think that suddenly in the next 3 minutes, especially from bottom position, he's going to be able to score. And he got out of bottom position and got back up and started shooting again. But Barch knew I have to block the shots, and that's all you got to do. And I have to be aggressive enough to not get called for penalties. But I have my clean takedown of 4 points.
I think at one point Barch did get a penalty. Because remember, he had 2 penalties against him.
Yes.
Because at the very end of the match, towards the very end,
JT only would have needed a takedown.
Yeah, he would only need 2 to actually tie it. Because PJ had 4 points, but he also had 2 negatives because he was.
I actually didn't see why he got the negatives. I was just laser focused on the match.
I think he was just being conservative, and he was blocking JT as opposed to actually trying to initiate takedowns.
It's not disallowed in the rules. You can get as many negative points as you want. It's not disallowed in the rules. It is a tactic, and here, PJ Barch shows that it is an effective tactic to beat JT Torres. 2-time ADCC champion. I don't know if anyone that had this bracket. A couple people did, but the majority of people had Torres moving through.
I love PJ. I probably said that last night when we filmed it or when we did this. But I didn't expect for him to be able to beat JT.
No. PJ's, but he showed that he is amazing here. Next match, we had Cade Rotolo. This is the match I messed up.
Yeah.
Submitting Roberto Jimenez via heel hook in 1:53. Again, we know Jimenez has a weakness to the leg lock, specifically the heel hooks.
This is the second quickest. Because the first quickest
third.
is...
Heisem, I think, is on Cyborg's 1:15. I think.
Okay. So it's third.
So
okay.
Craig Jones, 18 seconds.
Then Hassan Rita.
Heisem 1:15, and then this was 1:53.
Because we didn't have a lot of matches today that were super, super quick.
No.
Yeah.
No, the Grappling was fun. But, yeah, we know that the Rotolos have good leg locks, and we know that Jimenez historically has struggled in that area. Roberto, Cade Rotolo has great game planning. He decided, yep, that's where I'm going to go. Puts it into Jimenez's legs and gets a quick tap. Next match, we had Dante Leon taking a ref's decision after 15 minutes over Mateus Szynski. This was a back-and-forth match. Mateus had some really good moments on the legs.
Yeah.
Dante was active, was aggressive, was pressuring on top for the majority of the match. I don't remember him playing off his back in this match.
Who?
Dante.
He did not.
It was Szynski getting under him, X-guard sweeps and over, and Szynski did a great job with the legs from the bottom, but was never able to get Dante out of position. Dante was just super diligent, stayed on top, did a great job, and moves on after a ref's decision. Next one we had Michael Galvão defeating Renato Canuto via sub in 1:59. I think fourth fastest submission of the tournament.
Yep, it would be. Let's see what this guy is. It is a armbar.
Yeah, how did this one actually come through? I think what was this one off of? This was a weird armbar. I think this was Mike Galvão was trying to push it over his thigh and then transitioned eventually to get Canuto to get the arm trapped. I think this was one where I actually didn't have a good angle on exactly what was happening on the mat, and so I was trying to look between the mat. And finally, by this point of the day, they had the secondary screens you could look at throughout the arena. Yeah. But I think I struggled to actually figure out exactly what had submitted Canuto for this one. But again, very, very quick sub. Michael Galvão looked amazing on the day.
Yeah, he did.
Semifinal matchups we got for tomorrow. We have PJ Barch versus Cade Rotolo. I think this is a rematch.
I think it is too, because I think they went against each other
at one of the Who's Number 1 cards, if I recall correctly. And I, for some reason, think that Cade took this, or it was very close. I don't recall, but I think it was close last time. And we have Dante Leon versus Michael Galvão.
Yeah, they went against each other at the first North American trials. Cade
beat him.
Cade beat him.
How did he beat him? Do you know?
I do not know.
So it's an ADCC rematch. Cade has won. I'm going to go Cade. He has that fire from his brother's loss in his division. I think that's going to carry him through and push him through. Barch beating JT Torres. Barch can absolutely beat Cade Rotolo here. This is a tough one to pick.
I'm definitely going Barch only because Barch beat JT.
I'm gonna go.
I think that is a big sign of where Barch is right now.
Yeah.
And I think he has the skill set, and I think he has the coaching to be able to beat Cade.
I'm gonna go Cade because it's a rematch, and he's already beat him in the same rule set. I think he will know how to implement the same strategies that he had before, and I think that's what we will see. Again, I also think that given the upset nature of this bracket, rematches don't mean shit.
Yeah.
Dante Leon versus Michael Galvão. I'm going to go Michael Galvão on this. This is a rematch as well. Yeah. Dante
beat him.
Did he beat? This was the really controversial one. I think Michael Galvão won this, but we thought Dante won. This was very, very close last time. I think Michael Galvão has continued to make...
It was Who's Number 1.
Yeah. And it was close and it was controversial. I remember that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Michael Galvão on this. He has only shown me in this tournament that he is absolutely as good as I think he is. The youngest world champion that we have ever had in the IBJJF. I think he becomes the youngest champion for ADCC.
Okay. I am going to go Galvão.
Do you think he matches up with Cade or Barch? And who do you think? I think Galvão takes that regardless. I think Galvao takes 77.
I think Galvao takes 77.
Dude, the way that he is transitioning through the subs and the mounts today.
Unless something crazy fucking happens. I mean...
Which has been a metaphor for the weekend.
The whole weekend's been kind of insane, but...
I can't pick a third-place matchup here. I don't think I have anything to offer, realistically, with
we do have
any
a
of
third
these.
place, don't we?
Yeah, we've been talking about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything... I think that maybe we get a matchup between Dante and Barch.
I think Barch pushes through. I think it becomes Barch and Galvao, which they have never won against each other.
So that would be fun.
Which would be fun. I think Galvao has his movements a little smoother, and I think he's able to get to Barch's back.
I think he gets mad. I think he scores on Barch.
Yeah.
I don't know if he gets to Barch's back, but I think he probably gets an arm.
Yeah, and...
I actually don't know if he subs Barch, but I think that I think it is a match that gets wild, but I do think that positionally, Galvao is able to deal with Barch and score on him.
Weirdly enough, if Dante pushes through rather than Galvao, then that makes it easier run for Barch because Barch has already beat Leon.
Yeah.
Now at a different skill set or a different rule set, but
rematches.
Yeah, he has beat him. So.
That's a huge toss-up. Pick and choose how you want to pick that one. Let's move on to the men's 66 kilogram. One of the biggest upsets in the entire tournament. We had Sam McNally defeating Gary Tonin, 3 points, taking out what a lot of people had as the number 1 seed, maybe the number 2 seed if Kennedy's there. Sam McNally moves on. I don't think anyone expected that. Takes Gary Tonin down. Oh, not takes him down. 3 points.
No, he takes him down.
He took him down. He got 3 points. Though. Was it a mount or a guard pass?
I'm trying to think.
I thought it was a takedown, but he has 3 points here in our score. So.
But it could have been. You know what it might have been? It might have been Sam might have pulled guard, or some sort of guard, and Tonin could have passed because that would have been 3, and that sounds. Or
Tonin
up,
pulled and
all
Sam
the way around,
passed.
backwards.
I don't remember. Regardless,
yeah.
I was shocked again when we had a European trials winner.
This was one of those matches that happened, and then all of a sudden I was watching some other match as this was happening, and I was like, "Oh shit, Gary Tonin just lost," and I don't remember. Yeah. I really don't.
But huge upset. They announced it on the comment or on the stadium as maybe the biggest upset in ADCC history.
I don't think so, but.
I don't think so either, but I think it's still pretty wild.
I
Next
think there's
match,
some more wild upsets this weekend.
We had Josh Cisneros defeating a bricked up Ethan Crownston at 13:44 with what was like a weird straight arm lock shoulder lock that he pulled behind him, and I thought Crownston in 2 moments was gonna let it break.
Yeah.
There was another sub earlier that was super deep, and I was like, Crownston's gonna let it break today.
There was also Krelestein looked like
otherworldly physique.
Yeah, a reverse armbar is what they call it.
Yeah.
And it was in overtime, but I don't know. Krelestein, he
was picking up Josh's leg at will in the beginning 5 minutes of the match. He was just reaching down, starting to take down Cisneros.
His single was literally like the big boy single where you just grab the leg, as opposed to like shooting or having to get into it. He was just picking it up. It was just like
it was pretty wild to watch because you could tell Cisneros wasn't letting him do it.
Yeah.
You see,
but Cisneros really couldn't do anything about it.
And then later in the match, you saw Cisneros kind of figure out the timing for Crownston, and eventually throw up his legendary submission game and get it done. But this is one to go back and rewatch. This was a lot of fun. This is showing how much heart and kind of toughness Ethan has.
And I wonder if this is the Ethan that we're going to see forward or not, because we haven't seen this Ethan before.
I don't know if he can maintain that level of shape.
Yeah,
that is phenomenal.
I mean, he looked. There was. I don't know, and I don't know if some of it might have been a cut, like he was cutting, and that's why he.
I think he's definitely having a cut because he's posted weigh-in pictures every day, and there's a big question of is he going to make weight the next day?
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have to worry about that now.
So moving on, we have Cole Abate and Fabricio Andre. Fabricio takes it after a 15-minute ref's decision. I gave it to Fabricio. A lot of the arena did not. He was just more active. He was just more aggressive. He was the initiator, and he was pressuring in. Abate was, again, had some good moments, but if you have a very, very close match, you give it to the aggressor. Fabricio was the aggressor in the match, and I think that's just That's where the decision lies, and that's what I had picked when they gave the decision for him. We have Diego Hayes versus Ash Williams. Close match. Again, this was on the other side of the mat. I wasn't actually able to see a ton of this match. But it's a 2-point score after 10 minutes. And Ash gets taken out and Hayes moves on. Kennedy Maciel defeats Gio Martinez by submission. I think it was a rear naked choke. He was on. I remember him being on
so.
Gio's back for a while. This was again on mat 3. We were close to mat 1, so it was kind of hard to see. And they were facing away from us when the submission happened. Kennedy really controlled the back well for I think a couple of minutes of the match, and then eventually was able to get Gio finished, which is crazy because
rear naked choke.
Gio is a super hard guy to finish, so it really speaks to the finishing mechanics of Kennedy. Like, I don't remember the last time Gio actually got finished by someone. Mikey Musumeci couldn't do it. Like, it's wild that he was actually able to finish.
No, he didn't. Because this was the match that Mikey got all mad afterwards.
Yeah. Yep.
I was trying to remember which Mikey match this was.
Yeah, no, didn't finish him, so crazy that Kennedy was able to finish him. Kennedy looks amazing. Next match, we had Keith Krikorian going against Diego Pato Oliveira. Heel hook, I think.
Yeah.
I looked away for one split second to look at mat 3. This is on mat 1 in front of us, and I looked over and I saw Keith had gotten heel hooked and
straight. It says straight ankle lock.
Oh, and it was foot lock.
But it was definitely Keith was definitely
limping, and he was helped off the mat, which is unfortunate. We're again huge fans of Keith, been watching him for
definitely.
years. Hope that he heals up well.
Pato looks good.
He looks hungry for the legs.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that next match, but dude, Pato wants to break your feet off.
Yeah.
And he is aggressive about it. Next match, we had a 15-minute decision. Jeremy Skinner takes over AJ Agazarm. Agazarm proceeds to stand on the mat and argue for 2 points for some time.
Which, I mean, part of that is the whole once you leave the mat, you can't complain anymore.
Right.
Rule. You know what I mean? So you can't, like, technically, depending on your rule set, there's certain rule
ADCC
sets.
doesn't have that rule.
I know, but, like, he's used to IBJJF.
Right.
And IBJJF, once you leave the mat, you're no longer allowed to argue it.
Right.
But AJ kind of looked like, he kind of looked like a little angry kid.
He wasn't
wanted,
and refused to leave, and then
so
eventually
they turned the lights off on him, and
eventually he was sort of escorted out, and then he was back, and it was he did what AJ Agazarm does in those moments.
Yeah.
But Jeremy Skinner moves on. Again, I'm not sure with AJ's performance if he's gonna get an invite back. He did. Yeah. He had to do trials this year. And I do appreciate that.
But he did trials at 77. He didn't do them at 66.
But I do appreciate still that he did trials to show that he wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And you have a former medalist, a silver place medalist that is coming to trials. Again, for all the shit AJ gets and for, how people think about him and who he is, I do really appreciate that he put his money where his mouth is, showed up, did trials as a medalist, did well at trials, ran into Barch, who obviously we know now is on that level and one of the best guys in the world.
Yeah.
Still comes in the bracket. So I do appreciate that from Agazarm for everything else of the day for him.
Our next match is a match that I need to go back and look at because I watched this match real time.
I watched it again.
Did you watch it again? Dude, I swear to God, and I could be wrong, but I swear, and I'm not just saying because Rune Alvarenga is from Marcelo Garcia. I've seen him. I've been in the same room as him. He's crazy good.
Yeah.
He jumps a guillotine, a standing guillotine, and I swear, you can look at Gabriel Souza's neck. We were close enough to look at his neck and see that he had it, and that he was up in the air on Souza. Souza drops. Did he drop because he passed out? Did he drop because he was slamming him? Who knows? But Gabriel Souza all of a sudden is completely fighting out of it when he hits the ground.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder. Alvarenga definitely thought that he put him out.
I watched this again because I was curious.
Yeah.
I looked over at another mat and I was like, what happened? Because everyone screamed. I watched it again on the replay. He drops his arms like he's limp 15 seconds earlier in that. And then he drops again like he's limp again. And then on another time, Gabriel drops down like he's limp, but he slams and then immediately posts out. If you go on, I put a lot of people to sleep with a guillotine before like this. If you put someone to sleep and they drop you like that, they are usually you can't immediately put your hands on the mat and posture up. He is instantaneously postured up and out. Now, was he close? I can't tell you that.
Yeah.
Only Gabriel Souza knows that.
Yeah.
But you do not posture up as that quickly if you're unconscious from something like that. So I don't think he went to sleep. It looked like he went to sleep real time, but rewatching it and actually looking for it, was he asleep?
And people do sometimes play like they're passing out. You know what I mean?
But he slammed out of it.
You play the game of like, oh, I'm going out, so you let go of things.
Souza scores 5, gets out of it. Go back and watch that match. See what you think. DMS for what you think about that. If you saw, like, he was definitely out, Maine. Hit me up on Instagram.
I mean,
and I'm happy to talk about it to you.
It's pretty crazy.
Speak about how awesome guillotines are.
He had a bunch of guillotines in the beginning of that match.
Yeah,
that was a fun match. Was like him going after Souza's neck.
Go back and rewatch that match because that was actually a lot of fun. This bracket was a lot of fun. That was a particular one that was neat to watch. We're big fans of Gabriel Souza on the show.
Yeah. Definitely.
Cool to see him perform well.
But I don't see Runa Varenga very often either.
No, and I want to see more of him now.
Yeah,
that's
I do too.
Awesome. He's really shown like, oh, you can almost beat Gabriel Souza. Like, I want to see more super fights with you on him. Sam McNally in the quarterfinals takes on Josh Cisneros. Josh Cisneros takes that after 15 minutes, rough decision, very close fight. And Cisneros shows like, you beat Gary Tonin, I beat you. Cisneros looked good. Cisneros' legs weren't taped up this time. I thought it was really interesting. His ankles weren't all taped up like they were at West Coast Trials. Yeah. And he kind of vacillates between both of those, where either being completely taped up or not taped up at all. And I want to talk to him and go, hey, Josh, what's with that? Because it looks amazing today. Ankles aren't taped up, and I wonder if there's something more to that.
It could just be that he every once in a while fucks up an ankle, and you have to tape both of them. You can't tape one.
Yeah, you can't give your opponent the information where like, oh, that ankle's.
I mean, there's certain things you can get away with, like let's say wrists, hands. Yeah, you can wrap one hand.
Well, that's an old judo thing.
Get away with that.
I learned from a judo coach years ago. Was like if you have an injury, you always mirror wrap. Both. So that your opponent doesn't know which one's the injured one because they both have the same wraps on either side.
Especially with legs and knees and shit like that. Like knee braces, leg braces. Like if you have a knee brace on one of your knees, I'm going after that.
Like him at that knee, that's the battle, that's the easy knee.
I'm going after that one. It's just
it's just interesting that he didn't have it on today and he looks in rare form. Next match we had Fabricio Andre taking on Diogo Hayes.
Hayes wins.
This was close. And you can make an argument for either one of these guys. Fabricio is the aggressor at the beginning of the match, towards the middle of the match. Hayes in the overtime takes his back, tries to choke him. Like, pick and choose what you think is important in this match. That's going to be where your decision goes.
But it's a crazy match.
It's a crazy match. It's a teammate match. They both have the same gear on.
Yeah.
They both have the blue Fighter's Mark shorts. Yeah. They were part of the Polaris Squad's uniform.
Yeah.
Both shirtless, and I was like, that's a wild mirror
because they both
match.
Initially had the Brazil shirts.
Yes.
Yeah, the yellow Brazil shirts on.
From the Polaris Squad's event. This is a wild match. Again, controversial decision or not, very, very close margins. I don't have any issue with Baby Shark going on here, taking out Hokage. But go back and watch this. This was fun. This is like really entertaining. We're going to see a lot more from both of these guys. I think Diogo Hayes is a guy that we're going to see for many, many years to come. He's 20 years old right now. He's on the level. Yeah. And it'll be very exciting to continue to cover him over the next couple of years. Next, we have Kennedy Maciel getting submitted by Diego Pato Oliveira. This was heel hook or knee bar?
I think it was a heel hook, but let me double check.
Pato comes out, hunting the legs and hunting them hard, and ties Kennedy up for pretty much the entirety of the match.
Heel hook at 7:41.
He ties up Kennedy for the majority of the match, and then eventually 7:41 of the match gets the finish. Yeah. And it was wild. Kennedy's, again, we now have no former medalists in the finals, in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
In the semifinals. That's wild. Next match we had Gabriel Souza taking on Jeremy Skinner, and Gabriel Souza.
That was the last match of the day. That was the last match.
Yes, and that was a rear naked choke finish, I think. Yeah. Gabriel Souza looks good, and Jeremy Skinner's run at 5:39.
Mounted triangle choke.
I mean, those are all kind of like guillotines. Those are all kind of rear naked chokes anyway. We at that point we had watched. We got there, I think, at 7:30 in the morning. The event started at
We talk about
Almost
do
11?
you know how often on this show we talk about how tired we are and how many matches we watch?
Hey man, I love
jiu-jitsu. We should probably stop.
I love jiu-jitsu.
saying that
I do it for
shit.
you guys. And then this match,
It's not
I think
like we wouldn't
finished
be doing
it.
this shit anyway.
I do it anyway. I do it. I just love talking about jiu-jitsu, so we do it every week. I think this match ended at close to 6:00 p.m. So if I'm messing up some of the results from memory, that's why. In the finals here, semifinals, we got Josh Cisneros and Diego Reyes.
What's with Diego Reyes' little like hip thing that he keeps on doing? The little like it almost looks like some kind of like comic book stomp that he does before he competes.
Oh, some guys do that.
What?
Some guys just do that. It's
He's
a thing.
the only one that fucking does it.
It's an MMA thing. It's a thing I know from MMA. My first gym.
He does this like
used to
weird
do
ass
that.
like hip like.
Yeah, he opens his legs up and he fucking does a big ass stance. And
Yeah,
it's
almost like
anime character
yeah,
thing. Is what
yeah.
it looks like to me.
Like,
I don't know,
what the
man.
fuck?
Have character. Show me on the mat. I love to see it. He does a little stomp and it's fucking awesome. And it gets like, yeah, Baby Shark's going out. Baby Shark versus Josh Cisneros. What do you think? And I've thrown it to you because I have no idea what to pick on this one.
I don't know because Cisneros looks good, but Hayes looks good too.
All right, next match.
They both look really good right now.
Diego
have no
Pato
idea.
Oliveira versus Gabriel Souza. Who you pick? I think this is a rematch.
I think I go Pato.
I think I go Pato
I
too.
go Pato
Dude
going into the
looks-
feet and just like
He just looks like no one has put Pato in a spot where I'm like, oh, he's gonna come back from my like. Gabriel Souza had a rough match early. I think Pato continues to go on. I think Pato's in the finals. Does he take on Cisneros or does he take on Hayes? Because that's the hardest match to pick. I think Pato takes this division regardless.
yeah, I think he does.
I think I kind of want to go Cisneros, having that size advantage over Diego Reyes.
I want to go the opposite direction. I want to go Hayes.
You know, Baby Shark?
I want to go Baby Shark.
So possibly a Baby Shark and Pato final, or a Cisneros and Pato
it's
final.
all Brazil.
Also, could easily Gabriel Souza could show up and show that he's world level and
Yeah,
one of the best in the
it
world
is
too.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is a different day. So who knows what the hell will happen?
Third place match. Any ideas? I think it's all. It's just it's.
Who knows?
I have no idea.
It's wild.
I don't want to. I actually can't make a guess because I'm too tired.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the women's. Want to do women's plus 60 or women's under 60?
We're going to do plus 60 because that's what I just clicked on. but
Awesome.
For
Women's
whatever
plus
reason,
60. We have Gabby Garcia
it's not wanting to
defeating
load my brackets. Because I'm not on the internet anymore.
defeating
Thank you, MGM.
Nikki Lloyd Griffiths by sub at 9:53, really close to the end of the time after getting 6 points. Nikki takes a shot. Gabby is able to sprawl it off, get her down. I think eventually get a rear naked choke win.
Yeah, she kind of smothers her for a bit. She does what Gabby does.
Just what Gabby does at ADCC, which
Yeah.
is what we've seen for years and years and years. It
Gabby's
works so well.
so much freaking larger than
She
him.
knows how to do it. She knows how to leverage that.
Yeah.
She was very much larger than Nikki Lloyd Griffiths here,
Yeah.
and used that size to effectively keep her down and pressure and impose.
Yeah.
Next match, we had Amy Campo versus Elizabeth Clay. Campo takes that on 3 points after 10 minutes. Clay looked for the knee bars on the bottom, wanted the leg locks. That's really what she was looking for, and Campo was able to avoid all the leg locks, get out a couple of really deep knee bars.
Yeah, I don't know if Campo just didn't give a shit.
Dude,
like there was a couple times where I'm like, I know that freaking hurts. Like,
watch this match. This was
match.
match 3, unfortunately. We were in front of match 1. Watch this match because this is like, you don't like your knees. This is Clay was going hard. Clay is one of the best female leg lockers in the world. She was going hard on Amy Campo's legs, and Amy Campo was just calm, cool, collected, making space, clearing the knee line consistently. I was very, very impressed. Is able to score and take out Clay and move on. Rafael Geddes versus Kriston. Oh man, everyone's messing her name up this weekend. I wanted to. The woman from Cyprus.
Yeah. That
Cristo
match
Doro.
was a lot closer than I expected it to be.
15 minutes went to overtime.
Yeah.
And Geddes had to score late in the 15 in the overtime.
But it was
I think Geddes later in the match started to figure her out a little
think
bit
so?
and started to impose. But in the beginning of the match with the takedowns, I was very, very impressed. And Geddes had to kind of change her strategy, change her timing, and dig deep to impose late in the match. Again, very, very impressed with.
And we only had
Crystal
one
Lowe.
round of the women, so we didn't really get a lot to view some of these, of some of these women.
We only got one match versus two.
Yeah.
Next match we have Kendall Rusling defeating Giovanna Jara. Giovanna came out immediately, put Kendall down, and I went, "Whoa!" I don't think people thought this match was going to go like this.
Yeah.
And then first 2 or 3 minutes of the match, just imposed, maybe even longer on the match, imposed on Kendall. Kendall's able to eventually get back up, get on top, impose, start scoring, scores 5-0 on Jara, and take it. But I am very curious to see what development Jara makes because she put Kendall on the back feet, and had there been score, would have been scoring on Kendall early. Very, very impressed. Few people are able to take down Kendall that quickly, and she came out so aggressively and looked amazing. Second day, we're going to get semifinals. We're going to get Gabby Garcia versus Amy Campo. A match I'm really excited about, although with Gabby Garcia and how she looks, I think that it will look very similar to most of Gabby's ADCC matches.
I don't know, because Campo, I think she has a night to game plan.
Yeah,
and I think
you already have some.
And I think she
plan.
has some smart coaches at Zenith.
Yep.
And I think she's also scrappy as hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's larger. She is bigger. She doesn't seem bigger, but she definitely is large.
Yeah.
She's not.
She's closer to Kendall's size than.
Yeah, she's
than
a little bit
Clay's
bigger
size.
than probably Lloyd Griffiths is.
Yeah, I agree.
And I could see her maybe trying to,
kind of impose the same strategy that Levy imposed on Garcia.
Yeah. Get to the outside, don't get under her, and don't let her walk you down. Don't let her impose herself upon you.
Another match, rematch between Alfredo Geddes and Kendall Rusling. I forgot how this one went last time.
We'll find out.
But both came kind of from behind initially early in their matches. I think I lean heavier for Geddes here just because...
It was who's number one they went against each
Yeah.
other.
Your result?
No, I just had that they went against each other. Still looking.
Yeah. I kind of want to lean Geddes here, although Kendall looks in really good shape. That Jara match gives me some kind of concern. And even Geddes' first match kind of gives me concern of, if they come out slow or how are they feeling on the day. Can either one of those replicate the beginning performances of their first round matches? I think both of them can. I think Geddes can come out really aggressively and do the same thing to Kendall that Jara did, and in the same way that Kendall can do the same thing that Cristandolo did to
Geddes. Swept Rusing to mount and finished a guillotine on her.
Yeah, I think Geddes takes it again. With that rematch, because I just think that she has the formula, she's done it, she's done before, she'll have the confidence going into it. Kendall will absolutely change her game plan to deal with Geddes, but usually on the show I don't pick against the winner of the rematch. I'm going to especially the ADCC, hold that true. I think we're going to get Geddes in the finals. I think we're going to get Geddes versus Garcia. I think that Garcia will slow down Geddes and impose from top like she always does in the finals.
I think we're going to have Campo and Geddes.
Okay. Who do you think takes that?
And I think Geddes still takes Campo.
Do you think for your third place match, I think we're going to have Kendall and Campo. I think Kendall takes that. You think we're going to have Garcia and Kendall. Who do you think takes that?
I mean, unfortunately, I think Gabby takes that over Kendall. She's
the veteran experience,
they've won against each other before.
Yeah, I think Gabby finished it with an Americana or something.
And I don't think I think Rusing would have to change her game plan to deal with Garcia.
Yeah.
Because she definitely she pushes forward and she comes straight at you, and I think with somebody like Garcia you have to work angles and you have to come around her because she's so freaking huge that you can't try to get under her. You can't try to wrestle her. You have to outside wrestle her. You can't like straight forward.
Yeah.
I think
correct.
Rusing would have to change her game up enough. And I mean, maybe she could then change it, but I think she has problems when she goes against Garcia because she can't use her initial game plan.
And the strength that she's crafted for all this time, because they just don't match up well against Garcia's game and size. So moving on to the women's under 60 kilogram division, the final division of the evening for us. Bianca Basilio subs Jaylene Marie in 6 minutes and 18 seconds. Do you have what the sub was?
Yes, I do. It is rear naked choke.
Yeah, rear naked choke. Basilio looks good. Again,
you don't know the difference between Bia and Bia.
Look, it's been a rough day. The entire Grappling Miranda team has been giving me shit all day because for some reason
Bianca and Bia become the same person.
Well, they're both Bia, and so for some reason I go the first name, and in my head, like Bia Mesquita is married to Patrick Gaudio, Bianca Basilio is not, but they're both champions 2 years apart.
Yeah.
They faced each other a bunch. So all day I swapped the names, and everyone.
We would look at the picture. There's a picture up.
Everyone on the entire team
looking at the picture.
Spent the entire day giving me shit for swapping the names over, and I'm like, I can't believe I keep doing this with two champions. So now everyone else is in on the joke with me messing up the names.
Whatever. You do
next
a
match,
show too, so it doesn't matter.
We had Elvira Karpenin versus Brianne St. Marie. Brianne St. Marie took that 3 points via score. Yeah. Looked really good. Spent a long time trying to submit Karpenin. Karpenin fought through an armbar
that was pretty nasty. Yeah. Her arm was going a direction that it really shouldn't go.
It was very, very deep. Brianne St. Marie looked dominant in it. Took a very dominant point score. Almost submitted Karpenin, who's been in ADCC, just a veteran of ADCC. So, very, very exciting for that. Fionn Davies submitted Amy?
Yeah. No, Adele.
Adele Florano. After scoring 10 points, 7-10 with a rear naked choke. Fionn's passing looks amazing. We've talked about it. We've seen her passing. We've seen her game. Like, we're both really high on Fionn. She showed it here, put up a bunch of points, tapped it off with a submission, and moves on to day 2. Bianca Basilio defeats Maisa Bastos.
Bia.
Fuck me.
Bia.
Again.
Bia Mesquita.
Bia Mesquita defeats Maisa Bastos. Overtime, score 15 points.
No, score.
15 minutes, score of 3 points. This was Maisa playing a lot from the bottom, and Mesquita.
And showing that Mesquita can't pass.
No one can pass. We've talked about Zach and I talked about this in the stands.
Took her back, right? Wasn't that the final? The 3 was the back take.
I think so.
It was
eventually a back take.
But it was a back. But it was a back take from Bastos. But it was a back take from standing. It wasn't from her guard.
No one can pass Bastos. Bastos has one woman in her division that can do it. No one passes Bastos. That was, I think, the only pathway to victory that anyone had in this division versus Bastos.
Was to make Bastos stand.
You got to make Bastos stand. You have to bring her to overtime.
Even standing, she's
scrappy.
She's scrappy.
And she was shooting takedowns on Mesquita that I was surprised about. She was forcing Mesquita to address the takedowns and sprawl out and get away.
We didn't get the very dominant Mesquita that I expected.
We got what I describe almost a tentative Bia Mesquita. Yeah. Like she played from the knees into Maisa's guard, and just didn't really ever want to explode through. And I thought it was really interesting because Bastos was willing to come up, and Mesquita, I think, knew that and wanted to play a low, heavy game, use her size like she did to win. Day 2, we have Bia Basilio versus Brianne St. Marie. And we have Fionn Davies versus Bia Mesquita.
Yes.
These are some rematches.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think we have Basilio over St. Marie.
I unfortunately think too. I think St. Marie has a great style for it. I think she can really leverage her wrestling.
But I think
wouldn't surprise me to see this go the other way either.
Yeah. But I think Basilio has the track record.
Yeah. In ADCC
and I think
and
she
in
has I think she just has the history. She has the matches and the experience on her side. But it doesn't mean that St. Marie can't pull something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because we know that she can do that.
And I'm very, very impressed with her game recently. Fionn Davies, the rematch with Bia Mosqueda.
Yeah.
How do you think it goes? I think Bia's angry about this.
I think Bia's very angry about this. I think this is the whole reason why Bia looks the way she does right now.
Bia looks
she comes in
amazing
jacked
shape.
as hell.
Yeah. She looks
angry and jacked.
She is the most in shape woman of 60 or 60 of either division by far. She looks cut and in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
Her and Gotti have been posting Instagram videos and workouts, and you've watched her get into phenomenal shape. That being said, Fionn looks like she has never looked before.
Yeah,
I think this is a tough, close match. If anyone in this tournament can beat Bia Mosqueda, it is Fionn Davies.
Yeah.
I don't know if she can do it, but I kind of think she can.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because if Bia pulled through over Bastos more definitively, then maybe I would go a little heavier on Mosqueda because I was all about Mosqueda, especially when I saw her for bracket release. Dude, she just looks at another level than everyone else. But the way that Bastos gave her a problem, I could see Fionn start to maybe impose that same game on her.
I see Fionn beat everyone here. I see Fionn beat Mosqueda. Then I see Fionn beat Bastos. I see Fionn beat Mosqueda, then Basilio in the finals. I think that Bia Mosqueda beats Brienne St. Marie.
Basilio the one that broke Davies'
foot. I always mix up and flip the two for ADCC 2019.
Yeah, I think Davies beat Mosqueda.
Yeah, and it was a huge upset.
Yeah, and then I think
Basilio
broke Davies, if I remember that correctly.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I think that Davies does it. I think does it on points probably this time for Mosqueda, but I think that Fionn has just looked in the last 3 years like she has completely reinvented herself, and I think she is the best woman in the world right now with her game and the well-roundedness of her game. The size. And Mike says smaller women, but I think in the under 60 kilogram division, she just has too much of a deficit with the size. Fionn, I think, takes the whole thing. I think that we get a third place match between Basilio and Mosqueda, and I think Mosqueda takes that.
Okay, so just so we know, we're completely wrong with this.
What's up? We flipped it?
2019, we have Fionn Davies armbarring Bia Mosqueda.
Yeah, that's what we said.
We said
that's
okay,
what we said,
that's what we said. And then she gets toe-holded by
Now
Basilio,
everyone can understand my confusion with two women at the top of the world named Bia.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start calling Basilio Bianca because that's her real name. Her real name is Bianca, and the other one is Bia. So we're going to go Bianca and we're going to go Bia, and we're going to try to make that make sense.
Yeah, so that's what I think we got for women's under 60 kilogram. What do you think?
And that's it.
You think the same thing?
What?
The same matchups there?
Yeah.
Fionn takes it?
Yeah.
So that does it for
I don't know. I will say, okay, back that up. I think Basilio takes it over Fionn, but I still think they're at the end.
Okay.
But I think Basilio takes it over Davies.
It's reasonable.
But yeah, it's going to be a lot. They are going to do, aren't they doing some kind of Hall of Fame stuff tomorrow too?
I think so. I think that's tomorrow as well. It'll be fun. It's
the Hall of Fame, and then it's the Andre, what's it called? Andre
and Gordon match. The super fight. Oh yeah, so let's talk about that. That's the only match we have left to talk about.
And then Absolute. Whatever the hell they do with Absolute.
I have no interest in previewing the Absolute because we don't have any of the names for any of the men that are entering the Absolute. We know nothing about it. You will find out when we find out about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's going to be wild, and I'm happy to recap it. I cannot wait to talk about it tomorrow. But right now we know nothing about it.
Yeah, we don't know anything about that shit.
Gordon Ryan versus Andre Galvao. I think this is not too much on it. I think this is a stand-up match. I do not think it hits the mat for any significant period of time. I think this is Andre leveraging his wrestling. I think this is heavy collar ties, and I think this is Gordon moving forward and Andre not playing defensively, but Gordon imposing in the space.
Yeah.
And Andre doing what Andre does and looking good. I think this is a very close match, but I do think that Gordon will take it because I think Gordon late in the match will figure out Andre's timing and make something happen and force Andre to play and have to play defensively in sections of the match where Gordon will not.
Yeah, I agree with this, barring one thing.
Barring one thing.
If something happens to Gordon in his bracket.
Yeah. He still has Nicky Rod to go
for him to have something happen to him in his bracket.
You want to see Andre win that.
But I think if something like that were to occur, then it might mess with his head enough to then have Andre have a benefit in that match.
Yeah. I think it'll be wild. We're finally going to get it. I think the odds have Gordon as a fairly heavy favorite.
Because, Gordon did have a pretty easier day today. I wouldn't say he had a super easy day.
Victor, he with House Henke, he dealt with him pretty easily.
Yeah.
He choked him. He never was in a bad spot. And with Victor Hugo, he scored 8 points.
Yeah.
Seemed comfortable the whole time. He could have taken his foot off the gas, but he decided to he could have stalled it out and played for penalties and done it, but he just continued to press forward, continued to keep scoring when he was able to, kind of laughed at the footlock attempt, never felt the need to really overextend himself and create a scramble at the end to get out of it. He has much harder matches tomorrow for guys that know his style, that know him well. Yeah. He's going to have a rematch with someone tomorrow.
We'll see.
It will be very interesting. So.
But I think his bracket has a lot to do with his
success in the absolute.
Success, yeah.
So.
Well, not in absolute.
In the super fight, sorry. In the
in theory, he could do absolute also.
No, because you can't win absolute and then you can't face yourself if you win. So they're not going to let. I do not think they will let him do absolute. Okay. He talked about it in 2019, and everyone kind of went, "Look, you're crazy enough. We'll let you do your division. We're not going to let you do absolute and super fight and your division. You win super fight, maybe we'll talk, but we're not going to let you do all of them." So
I thought, for some reason, I read that
he
did.
ADCC gets crazy. We will know tomorrow everything, but right now that's all we got. Miranda, any kind of closing thoughts on the day?
It's been an interesting day.
It's been an awesome day.
It's been some wild, crazy things have happened.
I love ADCC. I love being here live and doing it and seeing the show. I love being with our friends. Will sitting here in the back, hanging out with us.
He's not going to talk because he's afraid to talk.
But it's been awesome to hang out with Will, Chris, Austin, my wife, Rachel, Zach, and just the whole crew and meeting people and talking to people. And I love being at these events.
Having some crazy people around us
it's just been phenomenal to be part of the community, and this community is so great.
Yeah, Will's hanging out with Daisy Fresh over in his section.
I love being able to do this and have the show and be part of this community. It's awesome. And in days like this and shows like this when we are on a couple hours of sleep, still doing the show and still having a great time talking about jiu-jitsu are awesome, and I really appreciate it. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined my co-host,
Miranda.
And we have the Grappling around. You see on the mat, whatever it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.